All right, everybody, David Cross again. And I think in this one, we're going to go ahead and start through some of the utility helpers that I've been included with this. In terms of IP addresses, conversion of IP addresses into their decimal form, back from decimal form from a sorting perspective into its IP, both for V4 and V6. However, I don't have a lot of V6 information, so I'm going to kind of tend to focus on the specific V4 functionality here, but we can touch on those as well. So I guess the first thing to note is a lot of this are some conversions to and from formats. I use these specifically when I'm looking at IP addresses, and I have a number of functions here that we'll go through. And what they do specifically is sort by IP address by converting it to its decimal or integer value. So really what this then does is you can then loop through a start and end address because numbers don't lie. You know the next number and that's the next IP in the loop. And it's easy then to convert back and forth as needed. Now, in order to increase some performance on some things that you'll see, I've had to do a few other things, but just to kind of go through this. So you would use this as a way to convert the IP to its decimal, and then you can also take that information and convert it back from its decimal using the decimal to IPv4. So here, running this back, we'll convert it. So in your scripts and utilities, and in what I'm doing, you'll see that that's being used. Now you can do also the same thing here in terms of its IP address, and I hope this is right, that no, it's actually looking for a hexadecimal. So this is looking for the hex input. I don't have, so one way to look at it. The convert from XML is just a way to process XML files. I had some statistics files, something to load to look through. Now converting to binary, if you're looking for the binary IP address so that you can do some comparisons and anding or ORing, etc., you can then export this out to its format, convert it to another format, and then back into its IP again. And through its decimal IP, the same function we ran just to generate the number. Now some of these are actually V4, V6 that need to be renamed. And so let's go through like one here. Now the convert to IP list, I use in a lot of utilities that I can enter a network size and then have it go out and generate the subnet size to give me a list of subnets and IP addresses within those subnets. So the first thing is I can go out and do something like 00, 18, tell it whether true I want to return the decimal list like this here that I can sort, or an IP list as the default. And then the subnet size, I want to say break this 18 into 24s. And this thing goes out and generates IP addresses for all of those IPs in that range on a 24 boundary, skipping the zeros and ones for your broadcast and subnet. This then allowed you, so when I was doing some testing for importing performance and doing like a million IP addresses, I would use this process to go out and generate the IPs, run through each one, process the results, then go back through the next loop. And this is what that does for you. So it breaks it all out into its function. Now I've modified this to give it some performance and other things, but very useful when you have that there. This conversion mask to length always happens. We always are trying to convert things back and forth to keep compatibility. One day we'll eventually get away from subnet mask, but until then we're still forced to use it. So one of the classes built into PowerShell is the IP address class, which this is what that is using. It then gives you representation of its address to string, its conversion to decimal, and what type of family it is, etc. Now, same thing here. I think if we're going the other way around, let's do 224.0, that we can get then the mask to CIDR. And this always happens too. So when you're looking at these old spreadsheets and say importing data into IP control, this is what that will provide you. Now the convert to subnet, I guess just give it an IP address. We might want to give it 15.72 or 87, and we'll give it a mask 255.255.2240 is the same. And then taking that combination, it should then be able to generate the mask length, number of hosts, and perform some calculations for you. So if you're looking at specifically aggregation blocks in IP control, you might use this for, determining what aggregate this would fall in based on this, information. Now on the flip side of this, if we do the same thing, we can do the network. We'll do 15.1, and I think this does the same just in reverse. And I believe that each of these commands too, you can specify mask or CIDR length, and it'll convert those either way. Okay, so that was real quick, and those are just some of the conversion utilities that might be of help to you that I use when you're dealing with IP addresses. And of course, the code is in here as well. So when you look through the module, you can take a look. And not these are not mine. These are things that have just been collected over the years that I've used in scripts and modules and things. So I won't take credit for all of those. But the other functions that we get down into here, I will. So I'm going to get down into the IP control, and we're going to start that officially in this next video. And I think what we'll do then is start with the exports and getting information out of the database so you can see quickly how that's done. Then we'll go back through some of the templating capabilities for IP sites, and then get down into some of the gets and imports when you get to that point. All right, stay tuned for the next video, and be right back.